Okay, here we go. So welcome to Math 219. I'm Clark Bray. I'm the instructor for sections 1 and 7, if I remember correctly. And you've already received an email from me, presumably, instructing you to come watch this video. And the purpose of this video is to discuss some logistical matters concerning to the organization of the course and how to do well in this course, course expectations, and things like that. So here we go. Let's just dive right in. Real quick, if you are thinking about a math major, I would encourage you to come talk to me. It's not critical, no big deal, but I think it'd be good to check in, make sure you're on a reasonable schedule, that you know the certain details that you might need to know. Anyway, moving along. So the class website, now the email that you received probably already had this link in the email that will take you to this web page right here. This web page is for all sections of Math 219 this semester. So you see all the instructors are listed here. And this page contains a bunch of stuff about course policies. So for example, you'll notice here the content syllabus. Let's click on that real quick. The content syllabus, this shows everything that we're going to cover in the course in some form or another. And while we're here, I'll note some specifics. There are book set. Well, here's the book, of course. That's our course textbook. This document shows all of the book sections that we're going to cover, which exercises will be assigned as the homework. By the way, you'll notice some of these indicate AHP. That AHP is a reference to additional homework problems document, and that's on the course materials section of the site. We'll talk about that momentarily. Back to the listings here. There's also a column called included material. These are topics that we are including as part of the course material, but that aren't in the book. And so these are, and I don't want to say they're supplemental. They are literally part of the course. They're just not included in the book. Your instructor will talk about those topics in lectures. Let's see here. Then there's the excluded material. This is stuff that is in the book, but that we don't want to be part of the course. Various topics. I guess I can't highlight all that. But you'll see various topics as we go along. This textbook has a bunch of additional stuff. It's all good stuff, but it's just not going to be part of our course. Okay, notice furthermore, there's a reference here to prerequisite material. We will assume that you are proficient with all of this prerequisite material. And there's quite a bit. So the parts that I want to draw particular attention to, this course having a linear algebra prerequisite, we are going to assume and make significant use of linear transformations, how linear transformations relate to matrices, and what I'm going to call standard geometric examples of this sort of thing, so rotations and reflections, things like that. Now, a lot of students get out of Math 218 maybe not being super confident with exactly how to do that. I will say a little bit about that in class, but not super much. So you want to make sure to review that part of your linear algebra experience and make sure that you can do that. Then let's see also single variable calculus, derivatives and integrals, and I'll point out a very common shortcoming among students in this course is proficiency with trig. So all the standard identities of trig functions, the angle addition formulas for sine and cosine are a particularly common gap in trig proficiency of students in this class. So do make sure you know those formulas. Okay, all right, so that's the content syllabus. Now, I will also point out there is a section here called Course Grades. Let's talk about course grades. I'm sure this is important to everyone here. The big idea is that we're going to use a weighted average. Specifically, we'll be computing a weighted average, what I'll call on the 4-point scale. That means that everything in this course that counts for part of your course grade will first be converted to the 4-point scale. Now, how it gets converted to the 4-point scale is a matter for the instructor, and I'll talk about how I do that in my sections in a few minutes. But the point is, you're going to have stuff like, if you get let's say some sort of an A- on one of the midterm exams, well, that will be converted to 3-point, whatever. And what the raw score on the 100-point scale is irrelevant for the purposes of computing your course grade. It's the converted 4-point scale grade, such as, for example, 3.7, something like that, that will contribute to the weighted average. Okay, so that said, here are the weights that we will use. Again, this is course policy. All the midterms together will add up to 60%. Now, our particulars for our section we'll talk about in a few minutes. But notice the final exam's 30%, and there's going to be other miscellaneous things that'll count for 10%. And that weighted average will fall into one of these bins. And for example, if you end up with a course weighted average of, let's say, 3.54, well, that's in this highlighted bin, and that means you get that grade. And likewise for all of the other bins. So it's ultimately a pretty simple system. I like it for a combination of reasons. For one thing, the simplicity is nice. It's very highly predictable and computable on the part of the student. And we're going to have a homework exercise in which you'll see exactly what I'm talking about along those lines. Okay, a few other comments down here for your consideration. Make sure to read all of that. By the way, in case I didn't already say so, I am going to expect that you've read all of the content of this webpage, and it's a lot of stuff, and so please do make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to read all of this. It's all stuff that's important for how the course works and how to do well. Speaking of how to do well in the course, you'll notice I have a whole section of the website dedicated to this. And we'll talk about some of these in more detail in a few minutes. But in particular, notice there's a page for learning expectations. This is what we expect you to get out of the course. And note that there's a lot to say about it. So make sure you understand all of that very thoroughly so you have the right sort of approach to the material. And then this other page, course design and strategy. There's a lot to say about how to do well, what we're going to expect that you will be doing, how you will be learning the material. And note the course is designed in a very specific way. The course is designed on the assumption that you are approaching the course the way that we expect and recommend. So all the more important to actually do so. Okay. All right. Let's see. Now, I am going to go back to my outline here. So as previously discussed, you want to read through all of that information. Click around on all the links. Be a good idea to make sure you know what's where. And let's see here. We've already talked about some of these other things. We've talked about class grades. But I want to move now to my class website. So to make the distinction, what we're looking at here is the course website. This is for all sections of Math 219 that are being offered. For my specific classes, sections 1 and 7, this website here, so I'll click on here, this is policies and procedures and information of that sort just for my sections. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to click on is the content syllabus again. Now you notice it says Bray's reordering. I have taken the content syllabus from the other page that we looked at, and I've reordered the lines corresponding to the order that I'm going to cover the sections of the course. So in particular, you'll notice I'm going to do section 1.6 first. And that's just kind of a choice of mine, and I'll say a few words about why in class. But and then likewise in a few other places, section 3.1 I cover a little bit early. Chapter 4, you'll notice I skip over and then do it at the end. So these reorderings, there's reasons why I prefer to do these in this way. Okay, everything else should be pretty much the same. So I encourage that this is the copy of the content syllabus that you should regularly refer to. It has all of the same information as the previous, but it does have things listed in the correct, in the order that is relevant to our class, to our sections of the course. Okay, so I encourage you to keep your eye on this copy of the content syllabus. Okay, while we're here, let's click on class grades. Now this is just documenting the choices that I've made for my sections within the flexibility given by the course grades web page, and all the policies listed there. So recall that I have 60% weight that I can allocate to my preference between the 3 midterm exams, and I'm going to keep it simple. 20% for each midterm exam. I think that's reasonable. Recall as well, I have flexibility of 10% to assign however I prefer, and this is my choice right here. So homework will count for 7% of the course grade, and attendance will count for 3% of the course grade. So there are some specific details about how I'm going to do homeworks specifically there, and how we're going to do attendance specifically here. Please make sure that you read all of this thoroughly. These numbers are relatively low at 7% and 3%, but they can be surprisingly important in how your grade ends up working out. So attendance, I think, is one that in particular catches a lot of people off guard. 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but it can easily make the difference between one course grade and another course grade. So please keep all that in mind. Okay, and again, lots to read. Make sure you read all of this very thoroughly and make sure that you understand all of it. Okay. All righty, moving along. Oh, the class schedule. Now, this is another really important logistical point. Class schedule. Pulling up slowly for some reason. As you can see, I have this in the form of a Google Sheet. Very convenient way for me to get the information to students. So, some discussion here about how this is organized up here at the top. And that said, let's look at the data here. So I have the first column here indicates what week we're talking about. I have numbered the class meetings. You'll notice that I'm teaching one class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and another class on Tuesday, Thursday. This is my first time to have a mix and match situation like that. We'll see how that goes, but I think it's going to be fine. So for example, first day of class for section 1 is going to be on Wednesday, January 8th, which is tomorrow as of this recording. And my plan, the target, we'll see if this actually happens, but my goal is to get through page 11 of my lecture notes. We'll see about that. I'll see if I can do that. I'm always optimistic, and then we'll I may or may not live up to the targets. We will catch up if we fall behind. That is extremely routine in my classes. It's partly by design, and nothing to worry about. Okay. All right. Now, as I go through the lectures, by the way, notice that Section 7's numbers are roughly kind of approximately tracking the Section 1 numbers. Different meeting schedule makes everything a little bit complicated, but the goal is that we'll be approximately on pace with each other. Okay. When classes actually meet, I will then fill in these numbers. So on that first day for Section 1, for example, my goal is to get done with page 11 of my lecture notes. Whatever actually happens will get recorded in that cell right there. And that's partly so you know where we are and can infer, extrapolate, I should say, where we might get to in the next lecture. And it's also convenient for me. So I don't have to remember. Okay. All right, now let's talk about the homeworks. Over here in this right group of columns, homeworks are going to be assigned by book section. I will assign given book sections when we have finished said book section in both sections of the class. Right? So, for example, in this cell right here, it is not possible that we will have finished anything, because even though we might have finished a bunch in Section 1, Section 7 hasn't even met yet. We couldn't possibly have finished anything there. So this cell is not going to have anything in it. But hopefully on Thursday we will have finished a significant amount of material in Section 7 as well, and whatever by the end of that class we have finished in both, again, it's got to be both of the sections that will go in this cell right here. Okay, so you'll notice then that homework assignment number 1, defined in between these bold lines, I've grouped these cells together and these cells together, hopefully clearly indicating that this defines homework 1. Whatever sections are listed in any of these boxes, which of course, again, in this case, only that one, that will define homework 1. That will be due on this date. Notice 11 p.m. Eastern for all assignments. That's just to have something consistent. Turned in on Gradescope, to be clear. So you can turn it in from the comfort of your own dorm room. Okay, so every homework is scheduled a little bit differently. Typically, I like to have homeworks due on Sundays. This gives students the weekend to work out details and to write out carefully, et cetera, in the weekend time. So I think that's a good choice. And then let's see here. Let's see. Did I do this right? Well, anyway, I will. There are possibilities that I may adjust the schedule here from time to time, depending on this and that, and we'll just, Well, I might have to make adjustments. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, typically there will be 5 class meetings. Of course, that's 3 for Section 1, 2 for Section 7, included in each homework assignment. And that'll typically be about 1 week's worth of stuff. Okay, now do notice there are some exceptions. Homework 5, you'll notice, is due on a Thursday, not on a Sunday. That's because homework is supposed to be preparation for exams, and there's an exam on, Thursday, Friday. Again, different dates for different sections. Well, I feel like students should do the work intended to prepare them for the exam before the exam. Having it due on the following Sunday, as would be the usual pattern, I think just doesn't make any sense. Again, around exam dates, there will be adjustments. And then likewise, there will be little adjustments here and there, such as, holidays and that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So don't get too comfortable with, oh, it always ends on a Thursday or it's always due on a Sunday. Those patterns are not universally the case. That's why we have this schedule. Please rely carefully on the schedule. Okay. All righty. Moving along. The comments and reminders, these are intended to be helpful. These are not intended to be everything that you need to know about, good advice for how to do well on the homeworks and how to prepare for the exams, etc. But they are intended to be supplemental little reminders of things I think are particularly worth commenting on as we go through the course. So, in particular, then, when you are looking at the calendar, when we get to, there we go. When we get to a particular date, when we get to, for example, this date right here, Friday, January 10th. Well, notice I have a comment in here. So on Friday, January 10th, at the latest, and by the way, feel free to try to read ahead on these comments and, kind of see what's coming. But I'll say by Friday, January 10th, you should make a point of reading this comment right here, as that is relevant to some decisions that you might be making concerning those, the material and the homework, etc., for that day. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I guess I kind of skipped over. I had wanted to get right into the meat, but I will, while we're here, also comment. This is a fun column right here. When I teach through my laptop, through the projector. Turns out the projectors in classrooms all have speakers, and I have a Spotify account. So I think it's fun to, when I get to class, to play some music. So sometimes students ask me, hey, what is this? Hey, I like this music, or whatever. They just want to listen to it on their own. So for student convenience, I will put links to the relevant playlists on my Spotify here. This is, again, only if you are curious and interested. It's not in any way a part of the course, of course. All right. Okay, so that's how the schedule works. Let's see here. Right. One last thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention one last thing. When homework 1 is defined by the content of these two cells, again, due on Sunday, January 12th, what it'll say in these cells is certain book section numbers. So it'll say, for example, section 1.6, perhaps. Okay, so what does that mean, section 1.6? Which exercises from section 1.6 should you do? Well, go back to the content syllabus, section 1.6, and it's these exercises that are listed right here. Okay, which reminds me, let's get back to talking about the AHP, this additional homework problems. That is it's a PDF file. You'll find it in the course materials section of the course website. So back to course website, course materials, and there it is right there. You can click on that. It'll download, or however you have your computer set up. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Let me go back to my outline. Let's see where we are. We talked about the content syllabus, topics covered, homework exercises. Yep. We talked about the class schedule. I didn't get to the exam dates, but we talked about the daily plan and the homework assignment and the due dates. Let's talk about the exam dates. So back to the class schedule. You will notice, if it will pull up, I have the exam dates documented there and there. So again, different dates for different sections. By the way, they will be different exams as well, for obvious security reasons. So what will be covered on those exams? Well, that is indicated by the color coding here. So you'll notice these exam indications are colored in green. Various of these cells over here in the sections assigned column, also in green. that is the indication of which sections are fair game for that exam. So for example, nothing there, but whatever we cover here, that section is fair game for exam 1. So that's noted in this comment right here. Okay. Real quick, I'll point out that for exam 2, I see exam 2 I have colored in yellow. So, whatever is in this cell, whatever sections we end up finishing that day, will be fair game for exam 2. Let's talk about the green sections, though. Will the green material be fair game for exam 2? And the answer is kind of. There's just no way of getting around that this course is vertical and later material is built on top of earlier material. And so there's going to be no way to avoid a certain amount of cumulativity. So some of the green material, some of the exam 1 material is unavoidably going to be on exam 2. What I will say, though, is that in terms of primary focus for any given exam question, there will be a primary focus, and that primary focus, the main point, in other words, of the exam question, will always be in what I'll loosely call the fair game material. So any question on exam 2, the main purpose of that question will be to test proficiency with the yellow material, not the green. The green will be incidental. And likewise for the subsequent exam. Note further, by the way, we have the final exam date and time indicated here. It is part of the math block, and so make sure to be careful to note that date and time. Okay, all right, let's see here. Oh, and back then to the organization. Okay, so we've talked about exam dates. Okay, all right, we're making great progress. Let's see here. Class grades. We've done a bunch of this as well. Weighted average on the 4-point scale. Let me be clear about one thing. If you are not entirely clear on, after you read the course webpage and the class webpage, specifically the web page, the web pages talking about grades, if you still feel like you don't really quite get what the deal is with that, come talk to me. Come to my office hours. I'll be very happy to explain. I'll show you a couple of little examples, that kind of thing. It's ultimately not a hard system, but I want to make sure that everybody understands how that system works. And I think once you get the understanding of it, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with understanding how it works. Okay, let's talk about the exams being curved individually. This takes us back to the class website, our section website. And you'll notice down here I have a page called Exam Curves. So I like to do my exam curves what you might call continuously for all possible score values between 0 and 100. And so when any given exam is completed and graded and scored, all that stuff's done, then these columns will start getting filled in. So, for example, this is the column for exam 1, and these cells will have entries. So if you were to score an 83, for example, let's just say, hypothetically, it'll say an 83 on exam 1. What is in this cell will tell you what your converted grade on the 4-point scale is right there. And it, what that will be depends on how hard the exam is. On a harder exam, an 83 is a more impressive score than on an easier exam, and the conversion will reflect that accordingly. Okay, so of course I can't quantify that until I've actually created and given the exam. Okay. Alrighty, let's see here, back to here. And then I've already kind of made a reference to where y'all can read about this. I'm going to let y'all just read the details here, but homework and attendance are both on fixed curves. So my experience has been that it's pretty consistent. There is a fixed curve for that. Make sure to read those details. Make sure to not make any assumptions about old high school grading systems. All this stuff about 90 to 100 is always an A. Yeah, somebody made that up. That's arbitrary and does not apply in any way to my sections anyway of this course. Okay, so make sure to read those details carefully. Okay, as you have probably noticed, one way or another, I am a video recording type of instructor, and I use YouTube as my tool for communicating those recordings to students. You probably already found the playlist on my YouTube channel for this semester, because that's probably where you found this recording. Anyway, that playlist will get added to every day as we go through the course. And I want to encourage y'all to make a lot of use of those recordings. I think this is a great opportunity. This is something that I had always wished when I was in college. I always wished that I could have a recording of what happened in class, because I'm digesting the ideas as much as I could, but the ideas would always come at me faster than I could truly, thoroughly digest them. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, it's kind of can't get around it. I took notes in some cases and did what I could, and went to office hours, etc. But there were certain things that got said in class that I didn't digest at the time. I didn't write it down, and I just don't get to know in this life. And that's sad. It's really unfortunate. So y'all have an opportunity that did not exist when I was in college, something I would have flipped over, and that is that you can just make a quick little note in your notes as we go through the material, and just go back and refer to the recording and listen to it again. Click the pause button. Maybe find some related notes. Come to office hours, ask some questions, talk to a friend, work something out on paper, and then listen to it again. And I think you might find that after having had some time to, bolster your prerequisite understanding, you might be able to understand things afterward that you just couldn't get in class. So this is a massive opportunity. I urge all students to think about how to make efficient use of these recordings. Now, one in particular, time annotations for things you want to look at later. I think this is a fabulous idea, and I'm going to show you an example of exactly what I'm talking about. So here's a page out of my lecture notes, and y'all are going to become very familiar with with these lecture notes over this semester. And so I will, for example, talk about the motion of the axle of the wheel, and that axle, follows this formula as the axle kind of moves like that. I'll be, annotating kind of like that. And if some aspect of whatever it is that I'm talking about just doesn't quite sit right with you, here's my recommendation. Look at the time down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Right, that does get recorded with my recordings, and so 2:57. So what you could do then is do like this, 2:57, and you might even write the date. Let's see, this is Jan 7, something like that. So you just jot that down real quick, and then later, long after class is over, possibly days after class is over, when you get around to, but I really want to figure out, what was he talking about? That thing that he was talking about, the wheel, something about the axle I didn't get, right? You come back, you find it in the notes, and you see now exactly where to go in the video recording. Just click forward to that point, again, in the recording. That little clock down there will be part of the recording. And just click forward to exactly that moment, and it's like you're back in class again. So I think that's a great idea. A student brought me that idea this many years ago, of course. But I think that's a fantastic way to do it, and I strongly encourage everybody, please give that a try. Okay. All righty. So let's see, some philosophical things to talk about. I want to talk about first the learning goals for the course. You'll recall there's a page on the course website, something to that effect. Let's see, what was that called? Gosh, it was called Learning Expectations, right? So this right here. So there's a lot of stuff here, and you note in big bold letters, this course is about ideas and reasoning, right? So this course is about ideas and reasoning. That's what we're here for. So this is not always a familiar idea for all students. Some students have taken math courses where, well, ultimately it's just about the answer. You get the right answer, that's fine, whatever. How you got the answer, who really cares? If you know a conclusion, you memorized a formula or something like that. Well, he knows the formula, so whatever. And that's just not what this course is about. Right, so can't emphasize this enough. It's not just about having the right answer. It is not just about knowing just the conclusions and no context. This is not what the course is about. So please keep this in mind. Now, why is that what this course is about? Why is the course about ideas and reasoning? And there's a couple of reasons for this. And the recent emergence of AI tools, ChatGPT and stuff like that, makes it all the more clear why this is important. Because reasoning, right, mathematical reasoning and true intellectual comprehension of ideas is something that they can't do yet. And I am not particularly bullish on them being able to do that anytime particularly soon. Now, they are pretty good at some things, and they're pretty good at implementing, anyway, easy ideas. But I am not. I'm not super bullish on all of that stuff. So, if you think about it, if you plan to get a job at some point, or go into academia maybe and do research, that sort of thing, what is it that you can offer? Right? Why should this company hire you? Is it because you've memorized stuff that is written down on the internet and that can be recalled in an instant by ChatGPT or what have you? Nope. No, they can do that. They don't need you for that. Right? What they need you to do is stuff that they can't do without a person, right? But in particular, a person who understands ideas that AIs can't, and who is capable of executing and working with practically reasoning that the computer can't be trusted with. It might get it right, but might not, right? And so that's why these are the important parts of the course. And I talk about that in more detail elsewhere on one of the web pages we've already seen. So so that's why. Now you're going to notice very quickly, in fact, basically all I'm going to do in lectures is talk about ideas. That's going to be hard not to notice. And you're also going to notice it on the exams. And I think this is critical to note here. That, again, I'm not just going to, on the exams, I'm not just going to be satisfied with, you have the right answer down at the bottom of the page, and so, whatever. No, nonsense. No, I'm interested in your ideas and your reasoning, and having the right answer at the bottom is not the point. I mean, it's one thing that I'll be interested in that's relevant. You do have the right ideas and valid reasoning, then presumably you should get the right answer, and that would be part of complete reasoning. But the answer alone is not the point. And likewise, just having, coming to the right conclusions, but for no justified reasons. Again, not really what we're doing here. So keep that in mind, right? That's where points are going to come from on the exams. The validity of your reasoning, the completeness of your reasoning, clarity of thought, clarity of communication. This is what we're going to be looking for. And of course, that reasoning will be about, mathematical quantities and concepts and stuff like that. And so, yes, you do have to know the formulas, and yes, you do have to know the algorithms. But as means to the true ends, which are ideas and reasoning. Okay, enough of that. All right, so learning strategy. Now, again, we've talked about this a little bit already, but I think this is also critical and needs to be hit hard. So I start off with the big point. We just don't have enough time to approach this class in the way that a lot of high school classes, for example, are organized. When I was in high school, long ago, pretty much the way it worked was material was learned, in some sense anyway, in class. And then after class, study time at home, homework, that kind of thing. Oh, the purpose of that was just to hone skills, but the skills that had already been, basically acquired in class. So it was practice time and honing time. But the learning happened in class. We can't do that. We have way too much material. It's not an option. Okay, so what that means is several things, but one is you're going to have to expect to be learning a lot of Math 219 outside of class, on your own, in a study group, reading the book, reading the notes, rewatching videos, what have you. So just keep that in mind. If you take the high school approach to this class, namely you show up, you listen, you leave, I would be very pessimistic about being able to truly understand at the, to the degree required in this course, all the material. I don't think that's very realistic. Okay, so think about when you're forming your strategy for how to do well in this course. Think about when is going to be your outside of class learning time, right? That needs to be documented, really ideally, maybe on a calendar or something. But certainly you should have a plan, written or otherwise, that includes a lot of time outside of class for learning stuff. So now in particular, what that means is not everything in the course that you're responsible for will even be covered in class. Right? Again, don't have enough time. Right? So stuff that's in the book that I don't talk about in class, I should say stuff that's in the book as indicated by the content syllabus. Why don't I just say this? Stuff that's on the content syllabus that we don't cover in class, you're still responsible for it. Right? And so do be careful about that, and again, have a plan to make sure that you pick all that stuff up. Now, let's talk about what am I going to do in class? Well, in class, I'm going to make a bunch of tough decisions about what to spend time on. And there's very difficult decisions. I have to make a lot of tough choices, what to spend time on and what to leave to students to read on your own. I keep in mind several factors in thinking about that. So on the one hand, if material is very important, then that's a strong vote in favor of spending class time on it. If it's very difficult, then that is an argument in favor of spending class time on it, right? I want to help you with the difficult material, and the easier material, hopefully you can, pick up in your outside of class learning time. And then there's a third consideration, which is how much does that material benefit from the in-person aspect of our class meetings. And so again, some of this is much more easily done in person And some of it kind of, maybe doesn't matter much either way. And so, for example, things that are very geometric, I think benefit quite a bit from being discussed in class. And things that are maybe just kind of algebraic, in many cases can just be read and understood individually by the student. So every part of the material of the course has some amount of importance, some amount of difficulty, and some amount of in-person benefit value. And again, I have to make these tough decisions about what to spend time on and what to leave for y'all. So keep all that in mind. Again, this is discussed in more detail on the course website in the section, the page, I guess it is, called Course Design and Strategy. So again, make sure to read all that very carefully. Okay, let's see here. Moving along. Just a couple of ideas that I think are useful. I got a lot of benefit out of this one myself. Maintain a list of questions. So when you're studying, either on your own, in a group, or whatever, you might find that there's something that you are having difficulty with, something you're not clear on and can't quite seem to get over on your own. Write it down. And just maintain this a list of questions. And you encounter something you have trouble with, you add it to the list. When you feel like you have it mastered, you scratch it off of the list. Now, organize this list however you like. I mean, a piece of paper and a pen will do. But you probably much more high tech than that, and so whatever solution you have for that kind of thing, I think it's great. So anyway, I think it's a really good idea. How do you cross stuff off of your list? Well, come to office hours, talk to classmates. I'm a big believer in having a study group that you can work with. I think that's a great tool. We'll talk about that more in a second. And various other course resources. So another good little segue. There are a bunch of course resources, and these are documented on the course website. So there's a page called Course Resources. So various things to keep in mind. And I'm just going to point out my lecture notes for the course. I already have, the first part of, anyway, posted on the class website, class materials. I hope you'll find those useful. That's exactly what I'll be using in class for teaching purposes. All of my old midterm exams for Math 219. And by the way, Math 212 is a very, very, very similar course, and all of my old midterm exams for Math 212, all of them are publicly available, again, in the course resources link on the course website. So I think that makes for really good study material. I hope you'll find those useful. The Help Room is a fabulous resource. This is open for many hours during the week. I think Math 219 gets something like 9 hours a week of availability, mostly in the evening, traditionally. Not sure of the schedule this semester. But great resource, always staffed by people who, graduate students and undergraduate students, students who have done very well in multivariable calculus, and they're just sitting there waiting for someone to ask them a question. So this is a fantastic resource. I encourage you to go and make use of the Help Room. You, of course, can get homework exercise help there, but that's fine. It's not really the intention quite exactly. I think the best way to make use of the Help Room is to ask conceptual questions, that sort of thing. So anyway, of course, you're perfectly invited to ask homework questions as well. Beware of the Academic Resource Center. They have some options available. In particular, they have something called the Study Connect program that I think is a super duper program if you are in the market for study buddies. And again, I think study groups are great. I'm a big fan. And if you wish you had a study group but don't know anyone in the class or don't want to work with the people you do know, whatever it might be. Go to the ARC website, look for the Study Connect program, and just sign up. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see, continuing along, office hours. So my office hours are posted. Why don't I go ahead and show you where that is on the course website. Right down here, office hours. Right. So the other instructors will have their hours up hopefully in the next few days. We may or may not have a teaching assistant. That's TBD. I'll get that filled in as soon as that is established. But you notice I have my office hours listed here, and so I encourage you to come on by. I've deliberately scheduled them to be shortly after my class meetings, so that ensures that everyone is at least physically nearby. Now I understand that you may have a class following, so that might not quite work for you, but again, there are two different sets of hours there, and I hope between the two of them, everybody can make it to at least some of my office hours. Now, we do have an office hours sharing agreement, so you are welcome at the office hours, any of the office hours that will eventually be listed above, not just mine. We do have a weird arrangement this term that I have a much larger number of students than the other instructors, and so they noted this asymmetry. And the office hours sharing agreement is a little bit unfair to them. So anyway, try to focus on my office hours if you can, but if you have conflicts and you just can't make it to my office hours, you may go to the office hours of the other instructors. And that's totally fine. Okay. All righty. Oh, let's see here. Back to the list. We've talked about study groups. I'm a big believer. For whatever it's worth, this is my favorite trick. How to be effective with study groups is try to create a dialogue. So, on whatever topic you're having difficulty with. So what I used to do, for example, in study groups that I participated in when I was in college, is I would just make an assertion, something I didn't even necessarily believe, and say, all right, I pose that blah, 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 and I'd make some statement about, linear transformations or double integrals or whatever. And then basically having posed the statement, would ask people then to, okay, do you agree with that? Is that a true statement? Is it always true, or is it only sometimes true? Or are there counterexamples? Is there a better point of view, perhaps, than whatever statement I just made? And just try to get people talking, try to get an argument going. Back and forth, dialogue, right? This is a fabulous way to trade ideas. And that's ultimately the purpose of a study group, is for people to be able to trade ideas. So anyway, I hope that's useful. Encourage you to do that. And let's see here. The last comment I guess I'll make is keep in mind on the exams, as previously discussed, we're interested in your ideas and your reasoning. So on the exams, you are going to have to show your work and explain your reasoning. I kind of didn't do that. Okay. Going to have to show your work and explain your reasoning. So I think it's worth noting that showing work and explaining reasoning is non-trivial. Communicating mathematical ideas is hard. It requires practice, and homework is a great opportunity to practice that skill, right? So if you want to do well on the exams, you're going to have to be good at showing your work and explaining your reasoning, and if you want to be good at explaining your reasoning, you really, really should be doing that on the homeworks. So please do keep that in mind. Please don't make the mistake of misunderstanding homework as being something to be, some tedium, a bother to simply be, gotten done with, right? it's an opportunity. Homework is an opportunity to practice your skills, mathematical skills, explaining, communication skills, and to capitalize on that opportunity. So please take your homework seriously and try to write up good explanations. It will help you ultimately then on the exams. Okay. All right, so that makes it through my list. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and look forward to meeting y'all in the next couple of days, first days of class, and look forward to working with you this semester. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.